life can hit like a sledgehammer. But guess what? We hit back harder. Welcome to Affirm That Sh. Somehow I thrived. I'm Jennifer Rogers, your no BS guide to turning life's toughest moments into badass victories. Ready to flip the script? Let's affirm that life can be a bitch, but somehow we thrive. Welcome to today's episode of Affirm That Shit. I'm Jennifer Rogers, your host. And today I have the pleasure of hosting none other than the high priestess herself, Miss Elaine Lindsay. What would you do if you faced death not once but twice under the care of your medical team? Could you come out? Could you rise? Could you forgive? Could you find support and trust in yourself? Today, we're going to hear from Elaine and how she has done just that. There's a reason I've titled her the High Priestess. She owns her shit. And today she's going to talk about how she's thrived through it. But before we meet Elaine, let's do her affirmations. So I invite you now in your space and place to join us in repeating. Take a deep breath in, let it out, and repeat with me. I am in harmony with my body. I nurture it with love, gratitude, and respect for its incredible capacity to heal. I am in harmony with my body. I nurture it with love, gratitude, and respect for its incredible capacity to heal. I am in harmony with my body. I nurture it with love, gratitude, and respect for its incredible capacity to heal. I choose to live boldly and authentically, cherishing every moment. I choose to live boldly and authentically, cherishing every moment. I choose to live boldly and authentically, cherishing each moment. I release fear and embrace trust in my journey. I'm surrounded by light, love, and support. I release fear and embrace trust in my journey. I am surrounded by light, love, and support. I release fear and embrace trust in my journey. I am surrounded by light, love, and support. Stay with us. After this break, we're going to meet Elaine.
Imagine a space where you let go, where the clamor of the world quiets and you meet your truest self. At Yu-Gi-Oh, through sound vibrations, Reiki, and the wisdom of tarot, we help you release what no longer serves you, align with your energy, and renew your spirit. Begin your journey back to yourself today.
Hello, Elaine. Welcome to today's episode of Affirm That Shit. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you, Jennifer. I'm very happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you here, and I'm excited to hear your story full force. I know in speaking with you previously, I just got a little snippet of it. So I want to dive right in where you want to take us, where you feel your story is the most impactful. And so would you start by the circumstances surrounding your medical procedure and what was going through maybe your mind and body at that time?
I'm going to start it a little bit differently because there are two pieces your audience needs to know to understand why any of this happened. So we'll make the first part really brief.
You take
I had
us
a
there,
brutal,
sister.
thanks. I had a brutal car crash when I was 20 years old. I was 6.5 months pregnant and lost the baby. I lost half my left leg from just below the knee up on the interior aspect. It was torn away from me by the Mustang that I absolutely adored. The engine went through my leg because I'd been standing between two cars on a highway on a curve when we were hit by another car. The car that hit us was not his fault. He couldn't see it in the dark. Wait, that was my start to where this went. I began to hate this body that lay in the hospital on and off for the next 5 years. I had plastic surgery on my leg. I lost my knees. I have no cartilage. I had all kinds of what they call debridement, and this went on and on. But through all this, there was a crime. My crime is vanity, a total self obsession. I felt totally worthless. And as far as I was concerned, society judged me daily because I had assumed I was these long, long legs for somebody 5'2" and blue eyes. And all I had left were the eyes. Now, I'm going to take you ahead. That was 1976. In 1982, it was a Sunday morning, and our whole family had gone to brunch at our favorite restaurant yet again. This is now 7 years later. I have put on a ton of weight, and I hate me with a passion. I have looked into things that no one ever should. I have tried everything known to man. And I came out of the bathroom stall, went to wash my hands, and a lady came out of a stall behind me. And I looked up and she said, "You have such a beautiful face. Why are you fat?" For me, that sentence, after it wrecked me, it confirmed like every toxic thought I'd ever had. It was the universe giving me what I asked for. I asked to have my thoughts confirmed so that I could present to my family I was going to get my stomach stapled. It was called the vertical banded gastroplasty. It was experimental. It was relatively new. It told me I would be off work for 3 weeks. I would have a feeding tube in my side for those 3 weeks. They would make a tiny stomach pouch. And after 3 weeks, out would come the tube. I'd go back to work. I would lose weight and I'd be a happy camper. Hey, what could be easier? I set up everything except my family. My family was so distraught that I was going to do this. It was a huge bone of contention for not just my husband, but my father, my mother, my sister. Everybody was against me in this. And I went in for surgery anyway, September the 13th, 1983. And within 20 days, I had 3 surgeries. I went home for 17 hours and came back only to die twice, both times during that third surgery. Now, nobody knows what actually went wrong in any of the surgeries because the records don't match. The OR reports are multiple for each surgery, and in all honesty, they don't even make sense. I believe now, and we have some proof, that my vagus nerve was cut in that first operation when they made a blunder with the machine that made the holes. The doctor, unbeknownst to us, was already being investigated because he'd killed 2 people. The cohort was 37 people in total, including me, and I was the third one he killed twice. Unfortunately for him, in that third surgery, and again, I'm not sure which happened first. My heart stopped in one, and I stopped breathing the second time. Whatever one went first, he thought that was his cue to cover up the crime he had made. And so he started taking everything apart. Unfortunately for him, the resident was a little more invested in being a doctor, and he got my heart restarted, or my whatever at that time. And so he had to stop reversing what he was doing. The second time that I stopped breathing, or I stopped being, he went back to taking everything apart. And I guess because he was in such haste, he basically turned my insides into soup. They couldn't even put stitches in because everything was what they call friable. They had totally messed up everything inside me, and it was almost impossible to put it back together. The second time that I died, I guess I still don't understand this. I really don't. The second time he said to me, or rather he said to the resident, go get this doctor. Just bring him in now. And what they did was brought in a thoracic surgeon, and they had him slit my throat and divert my esophagus out my neck. This is not a normal procedure. This is not something I have now. I have a battery of specialists now, all these years later, and every single one of them says, I have never heard of that. Why that's important is because they didn't just slit my throat and divert my esophagus out my neck. They left it that way for 7 months. And what people don't realize, and what I had no idea at the time, didn't even think about it, saliva is like battery acid. It actually eats at your skin. So I spent 11 days in ICU open. They had to use something that looked like when you go to a tanning salon, they have these little glasses you wear. Well, it looked like those glasses that was kind of holding some of me together. And twice a day they'd come in and pack this big hole and then leave me open. And they had a sheet tented around me. My poor mother, who could not handle the sight of blood on anyone she loved, had to sit at my bedside. And it was just, well, all of it was horrific. No fun for me because all the time they were poking me, they were taking blood gases and blood work and all these things. And back in 1983, they didn't believe you could ask doctors questions. You had no right. You were a patient. They knew everything. Yeah. Needless to say, I don't believe any of that shit. Okay. I was not a really good patient because I questioned everything. And he, who has a superiority complex, he did not take well to someone asking questions. For him, that was just absolutely not something you should
Just
do.
a how dare you slap in his face. Just
Absolutely.
accept what's happened to you and the care
Yeah.
that you're going to receive now.
And the one thing that I hung on to through all of this, when I came back to the hospital after being home for 17 hours, the resident walked through emergency. I had just gone to get something for pain and wanted to go home, but the resident saw me and immediately set up these swallows and all this stuff because he knew something had gone wrong. He was in the surgery. The doctor who did it, he came through that next morning on my way into surgery and he said, oh, come on, you got to tell us, what did you eat or drink? I know you did something. And I said, are you crazy? None of my family is talking to me because I did this. Okay, I have upset my entire life for this. Why on earth would I jeopardize it? Like, this is not a walk in the park here. And this was gaslighting, pure and simple. And it's funny because in the last few years, that has sort of come back to roost. I don't do well when I hear people gaslighting others. It kind of makes me a little crazy. Anyway, I had the second surgery the second or third week of September. And then the 20th day, the 28th of September, my daughter's birthday. is when they had taken me back in and when everything went crazy.
Hi, my name is Connie Walton,
And I'm Jennifer Rogers.
and together we are the co-founders of the Sacred Utori Collective.
Sacred Utori Collective invites you to come spend time with us March 2026 in this beautiful home in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. It's a retreat where you will find yourself in a quiet space with your soul sisters, reliving, replenishing, and reigniting your soul.
To find out more, visit our website at sacredutoricollective.com to snag your ticket to this beautiful retreat. It's a once in a lifetime and you don't want to miss it.
By the time I left the ICU, my
I
whole
just want to
chest,
say the way you say that so eloquently, everything went crazy. As if everything leading up to this moment hasn't been crazy enough. I'm like, I can't do any more crazy. I need healing. I need
oh, hey, we're just getting started. You have to laugh or you just sit in the corner and cry. Okay, so I have a truly bent sense of humor. And I think that's what got me through because it was just like comedy of errors. This is like the Keystone Cops. They fed me through this tube in my side, so the only thing you could have were milkshakes. The hospital cafeteria, every third shake they sent up was strawberry. Those little pits get stuck in the tube. And what that means is they have to take the tube out, they have to cut you open again in your small bowel and put in a new tube. It's like, hey guys, just don't send strawberry milkshakes. Like, that doesn't seem that difficult to me. And of course, a nurse would, oh no, we'll just give it a try. No, we won't. Okay, stop trying. I'm telling you, it doesn't work. So it meant that my small bowel was being recut and reopened with alarming regularity. It became kind of a weekly thing. And that happened even after I left the hospital, which wasn't for a few months. But 2 weeks after I got up to a ward, the nurses came in at the end of visitors' hour and they said, okay, as soon as the last visitor's gone, we have a surprise for you. It's like, oh, okay. I was pretty despondent by this point. They had kept me for a week on a palliative cancer ward in a group room with 4 beds. The other 3 beds changed at least 3 times. So people were dying all around me. I just figured I was next. I was 27 years old. No, I had 2 kids, and I didn't think I was ever coming out of there. But these nurses realized I had had nothing by mouth for a month. Okay, it was now October, and the visitors left, and the nurses came in, and they had a whole bunch of dirty towels. I thought, okay, that's weird. They said, well, we weren't sure what else we could do, but we're just going to put these around your neck. I like, okay. And they brought out freezies. They gave me freezies, and it was heaven. You could not have taken me to Elaine's in New York City and made me feel better with a great big steak. This freezie was absolutely from heaven. I had something in my mouth. Now, this is going to get gross, and I'm really sorry to the audience, but the fact that my neck was open meant that whatever went in my mouth came out my neck. Not really attractive, let me tell you. But all those towels, they would stuff around my neck. And I don't know if one of the nurses thought they would do this once and that would be good. Because it was like, no, you started this every day now. I want a popsicle. So my guess would be there, visitors saying hello, and okay, it's 8 o'clock. You guys should get on the road.
Right, you're kicking your guest out now
I'm
because you're
kicking
ready.
my guests out.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was the nurses wanted to keep it quiet because they all knew that this doctor, they called Dr. Nick because he nicked everything he touched, had a really, really bad attitude. And they knew that he would go off if he heard about this. But I used to think about the cleaning crews in the morning because some nights it was orange and grape, some nights it was blue and red, and the towels were always streaked with the most bizarre colors. Often it would all kind of go coalesce into this gross brown. But I was happy. I was getting something by mouth. The sad thing is, our bodies will betray us. My body wasn't trying to betray me, it was trying to heal itself. And it was trying to knit my esophagus back together, which meant, thing I didn't mention, I had tubes and bags and these little things that look like hand grenades coming off me all over the place. The hand grenades were called Jackson Pratts. The bags and stuff, I don't even know what they were called. The one on the right, he stayed for 7 or 8 months because he went home with me. So I called him Hugo because you go where I go. And he did. But Hugo, one morning, about a week after I'd started having popsicles, Hugo showed blue and brown. And the doctor went crazy. Like, what do I think I'm doing? And, oh, what do you think you're doing? You killed me. Like, not that I knew at that point. But yeah, he was really indignant that I was doing something oh so wrong. Meanwhile, my whole chest was blistered and broken and a total mess, and it hurt like hell. And two of the nurses came in one afternoon and they said, we're going to bring someone in that we want you to meet. Her name is Nicole, and she's a stoma therapist. It's like, okay, I don't know what that is. And they said, yeah, she works with people with colostomies. I'm thinking, oh my God, what has he done to me now? Because I was having so much blood given to me because I was bleeding internally. And the second surgery, he didn't really do anything. We don't know what the hell he did, but he caused bleeding and he caused sepsis. And by the time I had the third surgery, I also had a tube put in my side because my lung collapsed. And then I developed an abscess on my left lung. And they had to get my husband to hold me over a table so that they could cut a hole in my side to put a tube in there. When you're in hospital long enough, back then, you were just a piece of meat. And in a teaching hospital, they don't teach the young ones that we're humans too. They're trying to give them a chance to do what they have to do without getting overwhelmed. And I understand that. But I'm not just a slab of meat. I have feelings. And when you dig into my side with a knife, it hurts. It really, really hurts. And it hurt my husband to have to hold me still while he had to watch. Remember, he did not want me to have this done. So there was a whole lot at play. Anyway, all of that to say Nicole came in and explained to me she was going to teach me how to put a colostomy bag on my neck. And what that meant was it would collect the saliva and my skin would get a chance to heal. These bags fell off every 2 days. Sometimes I'd get 3 days out of it, but what a difference it made. Although, again, people are, I'm sorry, you wore a colostomy bag where? I said, on my neck. Like, come on, keep up. And I will tell you, okay, at Christmas time, my parents were trying to make things as normal as they could. And I will just say that this bag was kind of a clearish plastic, had a big clip at the bottom, like a potato chip bag clip. But oh my God, that is hard to accessorize. Clear plastic goes with nothing. It's awful. Back to my parents, and here's the really gross part. My mom and dad had decided that they would put some turkey in the blender with a whole bunch of gravy, and then I could just slurp that up while everybody else is having Christmas dinner. It's like, no, I'm not gonna make everybody sick. That's awful. My parents were just trying to make it as normal as they could for me because they were watching me disappear before their eyes. I had run a fever this whole time. I went home with a fever yet again and had to have more blood and more blood. The reason I keep talking about the blood is it turns out that was a gift from the USA. They were getting blood from prisoners in a jail, and they weren't checking the blood, which meant a number of years later, I got a letter in the mail saying, oh, by the way, we've got a surprise for you. You've got to go for some blood work because you may have HIV or hepatitis C. That was part of what I called the Christmas lotto every year. One year I got diabetes, insulin dependent. One year I got osteoporosis. That was a fun one. We had giant dogs. The biggest dog was 10 pounds. He broke my wrist 3 times. Poor little dog, wasn't his fault. All of that every year was something new. And finally, I lucked out. I did not get HIV. I got hepatitis C. And although, as my son, who was, I think, 12 at the time, said, but are you going to die? And I said, no, I'm going to be here till the end of time, sweetheart. Me and the cockroaches. You're all going to die, and I'm going to have to learn how to click. Because I didn't want him having to think that way. And the next thing he said cut me to the core. He said, well, then maybe you better not kiss me goodnight. Because I don't want to get it too. He was 12 years old. He wasn't trying to be mean. He was just being real. This child had to think about his mortality too. All because of what I'd done. You know, when I say chasing skinny is such vanity, it really is. And the saddest part of all this is we are now, that was 1983, here we are in 2025. Over the years, I've had to have a number of surgeries for the damage to my legs from the accident, which I get that. But I've had to have a lot of other surgeries to repair the damage that this butcher made. And the last surgery I had was October 2024 because I developed a giant hernia. I called him Fred because he was very annoying. He was huge. But it was from all the times that they had cut my side. Because you see, I fed through that tube in my side for over a year. And it was finally the head of emergency at the hospital. He had put it back, the whole thing back in my side for the umpteenth time. And he said, Elaine, we just can't do this anymore. I know you can't eat. I was living on onshore at the time. He said, we're going to have to just wean you off because you're going to have no small bowel left. There is so much scar tissue. And he was absolutely right. God rest his soul. He died a few years ago. All of that to say, I'm a tough old bird.
That is without a doubt. And I know this is just the condensed version of what you've been through, Elaine.
Yeah.
And we all have those body images that we want for ourselves, right? We all have that picture of the body we want. But what I would like to ask you now, with everything that you've been through, what truly matters to you today?
Sadly, some of the same stuff. I'm not happy where I am. I lost my sister in 2021. And just prior to that, I took 2 years. I got off all the narcotics that I was on. I was like just a ton of narcotics. And when my sister died, I was down a lot of weight and doing pretty well. And she was 5 years younger than me and really shouldn't have died. And it's made things a little uncomfortable for me. And I will say this March, I lost my father. And that has been very difficult. I'm very grateful. My father was 92. He got dementia when he was 90. And I was able to do exactly what he wanted, and that was stay in his house. He lived like 4 minutes from me. So we were down there all the time. We did all his groceries and did all of that.
Right. The
And
things that mattered to him.
exactly.
Yes.
And the last night we put him to bed, I was with him and he sat there and held my hand. And the last thing I thought was, Mom, come get him. He's done. He doesn't want to be here anymore. And I don't have the right to keep him. And he knew us. I say us all. I have 2 kids and a nephew. We're not the biggest family on the planet. But I was so honored that I could honor his wishes. And we're very, very lucky. Quick aside, I volunteered at a mental institution from the time I was 12. So when I was 15, I got to work there for the summer. So I had some interesting coping skills that most people they don't use for dementia. But there is a group in Britain called Contented Dementia, and they make it about the patient who is the expert in this new world they live in. And he was never paranoid or angry or any of that. We just went along with what he said, and we let him direct us where he needed to go. And he left this world just as happy and sarcastic and funny as he was when he was a boy. And that for me was wonderful.
And what a special gift for you to be able to honor him in those last moments there. And you have a story that is scary through and through. And like we said, from the 1980s to 2024, you've still been battling this. There are going to be listeners and viewers today that are just, I know I can see it now, mouths dropped, ears pinned, like, what did she say? Her stomach was soup. What is that? And they're going to want to reach out to you, Elaine. They are going to want more of you. How can our viewers and listeners connect with you? And what are you doing today to bring light into the world?
So, again, as you've said, there's an awful lot more to my story. My story includes suicide attempts and much suicide loss. I lost 6 people before I was 30 years old. One of my best friends when we were 16. So, for me, I do a podcast called Suicide Zen Forgiveness. And I share the stories of people who have suffered suicide loss, people who have attempted themselves, people that suffer suicidal ideation, which again, that's a whole other show. I've lived with that my whole life, which brings us to how you find me. My handle is the Dark Pollyanna because I am 50% suicidal ideation and 50% glad game. And Pollyanna keeps winning, which is hallelujah, I'm still here. That and the bent sense of humor. But yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. You can go to ElaineLindsay.com. You can go to thedarkpollyanna.com. If you just type in Elaine Lindsay, there's 2 you'll find, me and a lady who does cornhusk dolls and an author, I guess. I'm neither of those, but my face is everywhere, which is bizarre.
Well, I want to tell you thank you for spending just a moment in time with us today and walking us through a portion of your story and a glimpse into what you've been through. It's been an honor to host you today, Elaine.
Thank you, and to you and your audience, make the very best of your today, every day. And I really, really appreciate the opportunity to come on your show.
You just took another step towards owning your story and thriving against all odds. This is Affirm That Shit. Somehow, I thrived. If you're ready to keep kicking ass, subscribe now and let's keep breaking barriers together. Remember, life's a battle, but somehow you'll thrive.